We're live. Hi. How are you, Carmen?
Very well. So, Kat, tell
Yes.
us where are you right now? Hi,
So
Hoksoon.
I Hi, Hoksoon. Good to see you.
Yeah.
I'm in Mysuru, which
Mm-hmm.
is in Karnataka state in southern India. And I actually moved here 2 years ago from Singapore, which is where I met Carmen, Leon, Marcus, Sean, the whole gang there. Um,
Yeah.
and we started working together. So 2 years I made the move to India. My father is actually from Coorg, India, which is where Alilu Estate and the coffee is from. And and we are about 2 hours away from Coorg here in Mysuru. You have the anglicized name Mysore and then the localized name Mysuru. So you can choose which one you want to use to name it. Both work.
Okay.
And it's very much
Interesting.
a yoga. Yeah, it's a
Uh-huh.
yoga town, so you'll see the season for yoga when the yoga shalas open up throughout the year. In a
Mm-hmm.
normal year, last year was not normal. This year, we're waiting to see how things go with tourism. But in a normal year, there'd be yoga season where the yoga shalas open up and the city is filled with a lot of yoga students wandering the streets, going to class, going for a coffee nearby. And it's also very much a university town, university, college students. So it's got a good age group of people because it's a really quiet city as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of retired people here that settle down. And it being 2 hours away from Coorg, I can quickly just hop on a bus, go visit the farm, go visit the millworks, see what's going on in the scene there, and really stay in touch with different farmers.
Awesome. So, based on our conversation earlier as well, I also know that you have prepared something special for us today. It's like a
Right.
specialty meat tradition kind of thing. Would you mind telling us a little bit more about it? I'm so excited.
Yeah, I can. So I'm going to adjust my camera in a bit. I'm going to sacrifice the top of my head so you guys can see the setup here because I've got this whole tray set up of a South Indian coffee filter. So just give me a moment while I lower this so you guys can see.
So I'm currently drinking this coffee, which we also source from Howl for coffee. So this coffee is called Alilu Estate. It is also the same coffee that Kat will be brewing, but except she's going to be brewing it very different from me. I brew it with a V60, and Kat is going to show us how she's brewing it with a South Indian metal filter today. It's going to be super
Right.
cool. So please run us through
I've
it.
also got my Alilu ground coffee here. Smells
Nice.
great. And the South Indian coffee filter, you'll see it's got 4 pieces to it. So I'm going to go one by one. You got the base, the
Mm-hmm.
bottom compartment. This is where the filtered coffee drips into, and it's a slow drip that happens. And you'll see why, because the top chamber here, it's perforated and it's got the tiniest holes. I don't know if you guys can make that out, but it's quite small. So it's going to be a slow drip. And today I tried to use more medium, even leaning to the side of coarse grinds,
Uh-huh.
because the water is going to stay in those grinds for quite some time before it filters all the way through. And then I've got a
Nice.
plunger, similar to like an AeroPress or a French press. I've got a little plunger here that fits inside. And then
Mm-hmm.
the cap. So I'm also just going to show you what else is in my setup. I've got fresh milk. So if you guys have gone to the Howl for Coffee page, you'll see me talking about gear cows. These
Yeah.
are not your usual cows that people visualize, which is the black and white spotted cows. Those are Jersey cows. What we have in
Uh-huh.
India that is native here. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Mark, this is like a Vietnamese drip filter as well. It's really similar to these. You won't see these coffee filters so much out out and about, like in a restaurant. Vietnamese coffee filters, if you go to any Vietnamese restaurant, you can order Vietnamese style coffee and you'll see that kind of filter. These are mainly used in a home. So if you go to any home in India, in South India, I should say, you'll find one of these there, but not necessarily for you to use yourself at a restaurant. So back to the Gir cow. They are not the black and white spotted cows. They're native to India, and you can spot them because they'll have a small hump just after their neck. They have a small hump there, and they're one color. And they could be brown, they could be gray, they could be white, but they're all one color, not spotted. And they're like residents here in the city, any city, in the farm. Cows are providers of so much nutrition here in India and health, and they're sacred as well. So cows are just like your everyday neighbor, walking along the street, roaming around, looking for a meal. People pet them, say hello. They're very sacred here. They're,
scenario compared to us. Yeah, it's very exciting.
they're treated. So the milk comes fresh daily to homes. It's a common thing. The cows are milked in the morning. Milk gets delivered fresh in the morning to everyone's home. You boil it, and you've got it ready for your coffee or for whatever use you have. And ghee is made, buttermilk, and then on the farm, obviously the dung, the urine, the manure that people make. There's a lot of nutrients and fertilization and other uses for what the cow outputs have on the farm as well. So it's just part of the daily life there on the farm.
Nice. It's very much integrated in the ecosystem, right?
Right, exactly. It's very much just part of the rhythm of how things work there. So
Nice.
I've also got some jaggery. You probably would be used to using some other kind of sweetener. Here in India, we use jaggery, and you can tell it's good jaggery. It's this nice, dark, deep brown color, and it's from sugarcane. And sugarcane is grown widely in Karnataka, other parts of India as well. So that will be the natural sweetener that we use. Okay, I'm going to start brewing.
Yes, please. Very excited.
So the filter on the top, I'll add my grinds. If anybody else is brewing at home, I hope you just do it the same as me, whether you're using the South India filter or not. So I got my grinds inside. I'm just going to level it out and then add the plunger. I've got my hot water in my kettle here.
Nice kettle.
At this point, thanks. I've got about 10, I went small because it's just a single serving for me, so 10 grams of grinds. And I see people who make the South Indian coffee, they could add the jaggery at this point right now and have the jaggery kind of be in there while the coffee's brewing. I prefer not to, but you might see some people make it with the jaggery here at this point. I'm going to add the jaggery and the milk afterwards.
So you can adjust to your liking, right? If you add it afterwards.
Right. So I'm just going to add the top now, and I'm going to start my timer as well. And it's
how much water?
So it's going to take a while. So I contemplated bringing my scale out here. I decided not to. There's just like too much stuff here on the tray already. So I eyeballed it.
Awesome. How would Alilu Estate taste in a brewing method like this? This kind of style, how would it taste? What can we expect?
So I feel Alilu Estate and a lot of Indian coffees in general they have a good texture to them, a rich, nice texture to them. There's a natural creaminess to it as well, where you get kind of a milky creamy, you get the chocolatey notes and all of that. And I feel that a slow drip like this, which is why I want to use coarser grinds, will bring out that kind of boldness and texture even more. And because it's sitting for so long, I find it can bring it out more, but maybe even take some of it away because it's sitting for so long. So I prefer to have Indian coffee with a V60 filter, because rather than sitting for so long, I like the kind of quick brews. And the reason why I like the V60 as well is because of the spiralness to it. And known me for a little while, I am all about figuring out how food is used for nutrition and natural good food is used for health. And that spiral motion is common in nature. It's common in actions within the body. It's common in your digestive system. It's common with aromas. When you smell, you see sommeliers, they swirl their wine. You see someone who is an herbologist or someone who works with essential oils, they always swirl. And that really brings out that best aroma to come out of it. And so I really like that the V60 has that spiral motion as well, because it does something to the water to bring out the best flavors and best aromas of the coffee. I feel that the South Indian coffee filter is a totally different method, but it complements it because it brings out a really good rich texture. But I always balance it with some milk. I don't usually drink the South Indian coffee black, and if you go to anyone's home, they'll always be serving it with milk and jaggery, and I think it works really well that way. It balances it out because it's extracting so much from the coffee.
Great. So how long are we letting it sit for?
So we're gonna let it sit for closer to 10 minutes to make sure that the brew is completely done.
Great.
And I'm just adjusting my camera so that my forehead isn't cut off again. Pardon me, I'm just adjusting the cable and the tripod. Okay, I'm back.
Awesome. Great. I have tons of questions for you. But again, so Coffee On is a very interactive session. So for everybody who's listening or joining us, please feel free to use the comment box below. Say hello. If you have any questions about specialty coffee from India, please feel free to post the questions below. So we want you to be a part of this. But yeah, I have tons of questions, and then later on we can do a Q&A with all the subscribers here. Okay, so how and when did your love affair with coffee started? I think,
Right.
You told me a couple of times, but I think it's like the story is so beautiful, it's worth sharing to everybody who's listening with us today.
Good. I'm glad you think that. So my start with coffee actually was preceded by really focusing many years ago, back when because I was born in Vancouver, Canada, although my family is native to Coorg, to India from my father's side. My mother's side is native to Hong Kong. My parents met in Vancouver, Canada, so I was born there. And I really started a journey with changing my relationship with food. I had hit a point where I felt like, okay, I've got all these ailments. I've got chronic fatigue, I've got the beginnings of gout, I've got lockjaw, I've got these migraine headaches, and I thought, okay, there's something to do with being able to experiment with food and drink and how I consume it, where I shop, what I buy, reading labels, knowing where it comes from, and being able to cook at home more, being conscious of what restaurants and cafes I go to, and that there will be a way to experiment and see how it affects my body and my health and the ailments that I have. And over many years, I had some failures, had a lot of successes, though I would say more successes, and really proved to myself that there is this relationship that I can adjust and have a positive effect on my health. And so at a certain point, I decided that the hardest part about it was being able to access good natural food. And I wanted to be part of contributing to giving people access to good natural specialty food. And it made sense to start with coffee because my family in India, they're from Coorg, and they are coffee farmers. It's a hilltop station. Pretty much you don't live there and not be involved in coffee in some way, if not owning an estate and managing the land and farming. You're connected to coffee in some way. So it was nice to talk to family and figure out what can we do with coffee and start there. And being in Singapore, we as in my husband Leo and I, who we started this together. we felt like, yeah, coffee is the right way. We started meeting the really great Singapore coffee, specialty coffee community, including you guys at PPP. And I felt like there's something really special about specialty coffee, the way that you go from the barista to the roaster to the Q grader to the buyer to the supplier to the millworks to the farmer. Everyone is so curious and always kind of pushing the boundaries of their understanding to try to improve things, to try to give each other a really great experience and customers a great experience. And it was very parallel to what I was doing with food, and I could say specialty food. So it was just such a nice fit, and that same kind of experimental approach that I had with my relationship for food, I started doing that with coffee once I was introduced to the industry. And I had a really nice, warm, friendly welcome from the industry in Singapore. And that's where my love affair started. And I just dove in and started learning as much as I can, and visited all the farms I could here in Coorg as well. And it grew from there.
Thank you for sharing. Sir, do you mind if you can maybe just tilt the tripod? Oh, it's about time. Nice, it's about 7 minutes left. I think you're talking to a little bit. Yeah, would it be okay?
Yeah, it doesn't tilt upwards, so that's all I got for now.
Okay, that's fine.
Is that a bit better?
Yeah. Okay, so share with us like what Howl for Coffee does and what does it want.
Right. So I kind of gave the background to it. That journey and finding that relationship with coffee and how we got there. That's what we're looking for. So Howl for Coffee obviously is specific to coffee, but the company that we have is called Howl and Kodama, and it is all about helping people get access to good natural specialty food. So we're distributors. We source, we verify, we meet farmers as much as we can, and a day in the life of what we do is trying to learn the kind of natural rhythm of the farmers. So when it comes to crops and what we see at the end, which is the food and drink that we have, getting into that rhythm of seasonality, of knowing what crops grow when, how long, when do you have to sow, how long does it take to grow, when is irrigation season, and when is harvest season, and then what is the processing after, and figuring out all that timing for not just coffee, but black pepper, like you mentioned before. There's cardamom, there's sugarcane, turmeric, so many different crops that we could look into that I think everybody deserves to have access to, and I want to be able to contribute to that more. So a day in the life really is monitoring that, but then also caring about how we move the food products. How do we get it from farm to the millworks or to whatever processing stage comes next? If it's not direct on the farm, then how do we store it? How do we bag it? Who are our transport partners? Who are our millworks partners? And how do we handle shipping? And then that's a whole beast in itself. I'm sure a lot of people can attest to, if you've ever been into the shipping industry in any shape or form. It's an age-old industry, and there's so much complexity to it, but it moves our food around every day across the world. And monitoring the seas, monitoring air flights, understanding cold storage, understanding how the temperature is there when it's on the sea versus when it's on the plane. And then getting into export and import is all about, well, there's a big component about monitoring currencies and currency fluctuations and making sure that we do our part to make it economical as well. So it passes through and people aren't paying a bomb to be able to access good food. We need it to be accessible, not just in terms of being stored well and retaining its good state and nutrition, but also from a monetary perspective as well. It should be accessible to people. So that's what Howl and Kodama and Howl for Coffee is aiming to do. Just find our way to contribute to get good food out to people.
Thank you. So for the specialty coffee trade, for those that know, from seed to cup, it takes about 40 different hands from the farmer all the way to the barista for us to enjoy the coffee that we really love so much today. So I think Kat's coffee is ready.
Yeah.
So that I'm excited to finally join you.
Overtime, sorry.
No
I
worries.
think it's like a minute over 10, but that's fine. It'll be all right. So I raised up the camera a bit, so you won't be able to see it. I'm just gonna have to raise it up and show you guys. So I've got my drip coffee here now. Nice good steam.
Yeah. How does it smell?
Yeah, it's good.
Nice.
It's got the aromas, but again, I'm partial to the V60. I still think to bring out the best in the coffee. So here's the other piece of it. You might be familiar with seeing this around. Maybe if you're in Singapore, if you go to Little India and you order a chai or a coffee, you'll see this cup and little tray or little bowl, I should say. So I'm just gonna pour my coffee in here. And if you want, you can add some jaggery sweetener to it. I'm just gonna go for milk today, actually. So I've got my fresh milk here, and I'm gonna add it.
Yum.
A little bit like ordering a kopi coffee. We just want to be able to mix it around. And we go from side to side.
Woohoo! Nice.
One more time.
Send some love to Kat. You guys are watching.
All right.
All right. Cheers, guys. Cheers, everybody. So for those that just joined in, Coffee On is our Sunday program where we invite creatives from different industries to have a chat over coffee. So again, Coffee On is very interactive. If you want to say hello or if you have any questions for us, please use the comment box below. We'll be doing a 30-minute chat about specialty coffee from India with Kat from Howl for Coffee, a specialty green bean trader from India. So yeah, how does your coffee taste like?
Yeah, it's good. Again, well, you know what? I'm gonna taste it later without the milk. I put the milk in already. But it's a really nice pairing. I think this drip filter, you bring out the best in the coffee, and when you pair it with milk, it tones it down just a little bit. So it becomes really smooth, really pleasant. And it's light on the tongue, like it doesn't stick or anything. It's just a good pick-me-up. I really like it this way.
So we're both currently drinking a coffee called Alilu Estate. Don't know if you can see, I'm sorry it's inverted. So this coffee is called Alilu Estate. It's a 3-generation family-owned business. And something that's very special about this coffee is that they don't just only grow coffee, but they also grow other crops like figs, pepper, chili, and etc. So my next question is, could you share a little bit more about the importance of like intercropping on a farm level?
Yeah, so this goes back a long time, actually. It was preserved, retain this kind of farming practice with intercropping, as well as the shade grown practice as well. It was back to the 1800s, I think the late 1800s. These practices were preserved and passed down. People were very good at recording these kind of methods and sharing it. And because it's generational families, it's passed down from one generation to the next. And people are really interested in preserving this and doing this all the time. So me coming in to learn about it, I feel like it's something that's been low-key farming specialty coffee that's been in India for some time. We just don't really know about it. They don't talk about it so much. I think here everything's a little bit more low profile, which is kind of nice. And the importance of intercropping, again, I take it back to the nutrition. aspect of it, being able to feed the plants, being able to have a harmonious, biodiverse environment there where you don't need to rely so much on inputs, because the inputs, the fertilizer, the nutrition, the nutrients are coming from the other plants. They're sharing with each other, and a lot of it happens above the ground. So obviously leaf litter will happen, and that will serve as good fertilizer and mulch on the ground. But then you also have a lot going on below ground with the root system below the earth. And if you can visualize coffee plants across the farm, and then trees, and then turmeric plants and black pepper vines being grown up the trees. And if you think about all of their root system and what's going down and happening below, they're all sharing their nutrients with each other.
The same soil, right?
Yeah, and it's really great for the soil health as well. And it's a great home for the insects, the earthworms, to do their part too. And you will have different flowers happening above ground as well, not just the coffee cherry blossoms, but you're going to have other plants that flower too. And it's great to attract the bees that are like undoubtedly and ridiculously important to the process, to make sure that the bees are coming and are there and are attracted and doing their part to pollinate. And so intercropping has so many benefits to it, and it's just part of keeping, although it's agriculture, it's part of keeping just a natural state of things. And you'll find a lot of farmers can become reliant on buying fertilizers, buying NPK, and thinking about your usual nitrogen, potassium, your phosphates, your calcium, all of that. And they do get access to micronutrients as well, not just the macronutrients. But when you think about the intercropping, all of those macro and micronutrients are there naturally and are being shared across all the different plants. So you can still go get the NPK, you can still go get assistance with inputs of fertilizers, but then you become less dependent. You don't need to spend as much in that area because you've got your intercropping system. So it's a pretty beautiful thing, and it contributes to the good growth of the plants, good growth of the fruit, and ultimately a really lively, nutritious, fully developed crop that people can have and eat later. And I think that's, for me, if you hear how my journey started, that's the part that I'm most interested in. How do you get the liveliest food that you can have that's going to help you rather than harm you?
And also intercropping is more sustainable, right? Because everything, it's like a circle, it just goes back. Right.
Exactly. So very sustainable. And when you think about these generational farmers, they are thinking about sustainability for the community, to be able to employ people, to be able to have their workers do their work, but not have to be breaking their backs, because the less they become dependent on fertilizers and machines and this and that, it means more work for the laborers, but it can become unhealthy as well. And so we want to give them the right amount of work and make sure it's sustainable so they keep having jobs. We want to make sure that that the families, there's a really great nurtured farm for the next generation of children to have. And yeah, they are really thinking long term, and they're also thinking about the animals out there as well, which is a relationship that's hard to manage, but they are trying to think about the animals' benefits as well. And animals give a lot of signals in terms of whether that farmland is being sustainable. And as much as you don't want animals to come eat your crops, one of the best things that I heard is that when animals do come eat your crops, that's a great signal, because that means you've got nutritious food. You've got something that they want, and it's growing well, and they want to eat it, and they want some water, they want some food. And so trying to balance that, to welcome the animals, but also not have them destroying your crops. It's an ongoing relationship to manage, and
The
I don't know
love-hate.
much about it. I'm just sharing stories from these great farmers in my family that I meet. So I'm just passing on the message.
Nice. So, like, I understand also because, like, India is known to be like a commercial coffee and also a tea drinking country. Could you share a little bit more about how the journey of specialty coffee and where does specialty coffee stand in coffee production?
Yeah. So India is known to be a largely tea consuming, tea drinking country. And I think that's a common perception. But I do feel, again, coffee is just a bit more low profile. Every place that I go into, it's always tea, coffee. You always get served both. And it's always been that way. I've been coming out to India for, what is it, like 15 years now. And it's always tea, coffee, tea, coffee. You always have the option of both. So I think the coffee drinking side is just a bit more low profile for whatever reason, and the industry and where specialty coffee sits and exists within, I think it's quite similar to the world scene. Specialty coffee is, and although it's such a vibrant community and definitely growing community, it is still a small percentage of the commercial coffee industry, and that's a reality. And I feel it's much the same here in India. And in India, like I mentioned before, it's very well defined, really well organized, like coffee growing practices and how to do things for specialty. I feel like a lot of it's just been naturally done. It's just these are great farmers. They're really knowledgeable. They're always pushing for more. They're really interested, and it's always kind of been there. From the other perspective of consumption and like cafes and roasteries and all of that, I find that there's a good, really strong, although smaller group of people here in India that are really trying to push things forward. And I'm in South India, so meeting people in Bangalore, other parts of Karnataka. Coorg is not the only coffee growing region. There's the entire Western Ghats. So you've got Chikmagalur, Hassan region, all of that growing coffee as well. You've got people even on the other coast in Pondicherry as well, pushing specialty coffee, some really great roasteries and cafes there. And so I find that from cafes, roasters, Q graders, engineers, equipment dealers, even like being able to access, the equipment that we have here. There's some really good importers and dealers that are trying to sell specialty coffee equipment. And let me tell you, trying to get past or figure out how to make your business sustainable with the kind of import taxes we have isn't an easy business to keep up. The import taxes can be high on certain items, but we have access to this kind of equipment, to roasters from roasting equipment from Europe, kettles and ceramics and cups from Japan. They're making their way in here. So there's a really good group. And I also feel like India is a country that has so many artisanal craft makers as well, not just in food and beverage, but in textiles, in art and sculpture, in so many different fields. There's this really great kind of undercurrent of artists and craftspeople, and I find there's a really nice relationship between craft makers from different industries that merge really well with the specialty coffee season, or specialty coffee scene. So you see people in coffee working with artisanal chocolate makers. You see people in coffee working with bakeries, and it's a nice relationship. So I'm really, I should say, feeling really good about the community, the specialty coffee community here, and the support that we have across different industries. that are going to make it grow, and I think grow at the same pace, if not faster, than around the world. It's something special.
Nice. So, what are some of the subtle ways that you think coffee culture is slowly changing in India?
Right. I would say that you kind of got two sides of the spectrum. You've got kind of the culture of large scale commercial kind of coffee drinking, which I've participated. I've before I got into launching Howl and Kodama, I actually worked for certain companies, opened up businesses in India, in Delhi, Gurgaon, and the coffee culture there is very much part of work, part of life, part of, you know, having a coffee break, having a tea break. It's something that is very synonymous with your just kind of everyday kind of work and grind, and that's there, and I think that's really not going anywhere. It's going to happen. People need that quick fix, that quick coffee, and they should have it. And the way that they make it at home is as well. So people might use the South Indian coffee filter at home. A lot of people might just brew it in a pot, and brew the grinds in a pot, add their milk, strain it, and go from there. And I don't think that's really going anywhere. The other spectrum is kind of that small scale side of things, and seeing that culture start to change. And like I said, with a lot of the equipment and machinery that's making it in for home brewers and people who work to be able to do things differently, and the cafes having access to different types of things that they can do in their cafe. You're starting to see it out on the streets more, out in the cafes more. You're starting to see people experimenting at home more, and small businesses, collaborations happening, and they have the setup for it now. So I feel like that smaller scale side of thing, whether it's at home, whether it's in a small business, a small shop, that's where the culture and the trend is really going to start from. And I've even seen this one guy that kind of does things out of like the back of his truck, out of the back of his two-wheeler. And two-wheelers are really common in India. And that's just like a mode of transport everybody uses. So if you can just pack your equipment, sling it onto the side of your two-wheeler bike, of your motorcycle, or off the back of your Jeep, and be able to brew a cup of coffee that way. I see that happening a lot too. So it's just kind of on the go. Let's be able to brew something, and they have the setup and the equipment to do it now and experiment.
Awesome. So let's take a short break and maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what Alilu means. Yeah, I think everybody's curious. I know the answer already, but if you guys, anybody who's joining us or who's already here listening to our conversation, if you know what Alilu means, please share with us. Otherwise, Kat will tell us. It's a very interesting story.
I'll wait a bit to see if anybody wants to chime in, and I'll take a little bit of a break and have some coffee.
Yeah, have some coffee.
Okay, I'll start talking, but I'll pause if anybody jumps in.
Okay.
So Alilu in the local language, so here in Karnataka state is Kannada is the spoken language, K-A-N-N-A-D-A, Kannada. K-A-N-N-A-A. And so I'll do it one more time. Actually, I've typed it here.
Okay, that's great. So Mark asks if it means great hawk. Oh, Kannadar.
There are a lot of hawks, even in the city. We've got hawks circling around all the time. Alilu does not mean great hawk. Alilu actually means squirrel, and it's a large Malabar squirrel. So Malabar squirrel, they're native to southern India. You see them on a lot of farms, and particularly Alilu Estate. When I was talking to, you can say the grandmother of the estate. So she and her husband have been on the farm for a really long time, and they have seen the same family of squirrels kind of staying on their land for like at least over a decade, maybe 2 decades. And they just kind of set up there and they're just part of the family, and you see them roaming around. The squirrels have had children. You see the baby squirrels growing around, but they're really large and they have a red, kind of reddish fur coat. And yeah, and I swear they're really big. They're really big. They're not small squirrels this size. They're probably 5 times the size of what you would visualize as a squirrel that you would normally see. And they climb the coconut trees all the time. I think I shared pictures with you guys, and you might look at Howl for Coffee Instagram. I think I might have a picture there as well. They love climbing the coconut trees, and they are also great for signaling things as well. There was this one story that the Alilu Estate told me about how the squirrels, the Malabar squirrels, Alilu, they were looking for water on the land, and they knew that the squirrels were looking for water on the land because they were trying to tear at the piping of the irrigation system, and they were just kind of causing a ruckus with the watering system. And what they did was they took the coconut husk, the shell of the coconut, and they cut it in half, and they would put the coconut with some water along the irrigation system so that the squirrels would have water as well. So they would, rather than tearing at the pipes, they would just come and get a drink of water. But that also signals that water shortage. You know, has it been really dry lately? Has there been a drought? What's the level of the river? So there's the Kaveri River, which runs through the region and is the primary source of water. Even in the city, our water comes from the Kaveri River. So is water levels low, they start to monitor that, and then they have to start to think about, you know, what to do with their water source levels and how to do it again in natural ways, and kind of complement that with hopefully some low tech to help get irrigation in at the right time too. So yeah, squirrels are great friends. Alilu has these resident family squirrels there, and that was one reason, or that was the reason we named the estate Alilu Estate.
So animals are kind of like a feedback loop for the farms, right? And the farmer, which is great. Yeah.
Always listening to the animals, always watching the weather, always paying attention to what the plants are telling you. I think that was something I learned when I was going on my journey to figure out how to have a better relationship with food, and taking it even farther to witness and expose myself to the farmers and how in tune they are to those signals was really helpful for my experiments, to be able to kind of feel things better and listen to signals better, because I think just as much as the animals are trying to tell you something, and the wind is trying to tell you something, I feel that your body is trying to give you signals all the time too, and we all can listen better to it and work more harmoniously together.
Sure. So for those who are curious about what it's like in the farm, you can just look up Howl for Coffee. So Kat is very good at posting videos and showing you what it's like in the farm. There's pictures of cherries, the local cow, and the daily life in the farm. So you can follow Howl for Coffee and just check out their videos. It's very cool. Okay, I think we have a couple of minutes left. I'm gonna take this chance to ask 2 more questions from me. But again, if anybody here have any questions for Kat, for Alilu, for Howl for Coffee, please feel free to just ask away. So, what do you hope to achieve with Alilu Estate?
Right. I'm going to answer that in a moment, but I'm just scrolling through these comments, and I see a couple people I know. Chris from Kapwa Coffee in Vancouver. I see my cousin Tracy, who waved as well. I see
Hello.
Melissa. Hi, everyone. And
Hi,
thanks again to Mark
Hudson.
Hilton for
Yeah,
asking the
Tracy.
question earlier about the squirrel. And Leon. Hi, Leon. Cool. Okay, so back to the question. What is my wish for Alilu Estate? Was that it? Yeah. So I'm really the type of person that is constantly learning, constantly curious, and I feel that I really like to give credit to anybody to be a teacher for me, and I include the farmers in that. And Alilu Estate I would categorize as a really well-seasoned agricultural background, and the whole family is just so into the farming and the agriculture and the experiments that they do, and I constantly learn from them. Obviously, I give my suggestions. I really want to share what's going on globally around the world, farming practices from different parts of the world. What are people experimenting? What can we try? And so I really kind of take their cue and try to complement what they're doing. And some of the things that they're already thinking about now is rejuvenating old trees. So it was something that's happened, I think, in recent years, where new trees have been brought in, some not native from India, and trying to get a feel for whether those trees would fit into kind of like the intercropping, fit into the ecosystem. And what they discovered was the leaves from those trees were actually not biodegrading properly. And part of that is they're not in their native place, possibly, right? They're in a foreign area. They might have a lot of benefits as a tree on its own, and maybe from a different country. But when they started trying to plant some of these newer trees, they found that it didn't work as well. So they're trying to rejuvenate old native trees back more into their environment. They're also trying to do more kind of like locally sourced fertilizers, finding new ways, looking for new opportunities. For example, I mentioned like leaf litter. That's a really common way to have mulch and to fertilize the soil again. But they're also looking at their water sources and dredging water from certain place and taking that water dredge and using it back into the soil as fertilizer too. So it's little bits like this that, very scientific, very agricultural science focused. It's something that the farmer takes the lead on, and I really want to support. And I like to push for those incremental kind of experiments to happen. I also really want consistency coming from Alilu Estate. Just kind of get out of the way, make sure that they can do the basics, and give them room to keep on making improvements next year or year after year. And then longer term is from an economic perspective, every farmer needs to think about their livelihood, right? And about paying their workers every day. And they do make income from their coffee. Their second source of income is the black pepper. And again, you'll see videos. Yeah, you'll see videos and photos on Howl for Coffee about the black pepper. That's their second largest source of income after coffee. And so being able to move coffee, and I do really feel that the black pepper, which is native to India, is the best pepper that you can get in the world. It's really something wonderful. The flavors, the heat, the citrus notes, the floral notes that you get from it in the aroma and the taste, it's really powerful, and it's really something special. And so being part of pushing more specialty foods out there, I am really interested in working with Alilu Estate and other farmers to show showcase the intercropping that they have and being able to find ways for them to make income across their different crop sources, and not just have a cash crop, but be able to rely on their secondary, tertiary crops as well and find markets for that. And the benefit of that for people is that, you know, you've got a really great natural good farmer like Alilu Estate who has really nutritious crops that they're growing, and I think people want access to it. So I want to do that, and that's what I wish for Alilu Estate, is kind of that consistency and that incremental experiment and being able to showcase the other crops on their farm as well.
To make it more accessible to everybody outside of India, right?
Right. Yes. And there's a lot of nice natural pairings that go with coffee too, that come from the different farms. So so cacao is grown in Karnataka state, and when you pair the cacao, like naturally made artisanal chocolate from the cacao in Karnataka, and you pair that with coffee, it's really nice. Honey is another wonderful thing.
Pat, I'm sorry to barge in, but I think we're a little bit short in time, and I would love if you can answer Coffee Tauke's question. I think this will be the last question for the session. So how do local communities react to being part of specialty coffee? I'm going to pin the comments so that everybody know what we're talking about. So this will be the last question for the session.
Right. That's a good way to end it. I think there are a couple kinds of reactions that I can think of off the top of my head. And sorry, who's asking this question?
Coffee Tauke. Yeah. Thanks for asking the question, by the way. And hi, Ellie.
Okay, so I feel like there's a couple reactions. Commercial coffee, your coffee just kind of gets put into the mold of the rest of the coffee. Your coffee goes out to market. You probably don't know what happens to it down the line.
It's also sold by weight.
One reaction. Pardon?
It's also sold by weight.
Right. Yeah, it's sold by weight. It could be sold as bulk, maybe not graded as well, and kind of mixed together with other coffees, and you don't really know what happens after that. So when the local communities hear about specialty coffee and you might have a reaction to like, oh, okay, it's going to be single origin. Okay, you know, they want to get to know the farm. They want to get to know how the local community works together with the farm, and they get quite excited about that. I think there's a sense of hard work and recognition of that hard work that is really important to motivate the community, motivate the farmers, motivate the workers. So that's one kind of reaction. And who doesn't like seeing their estate being mentioned? Who doesn't like seeing their faces out there? There's something, you know, appealing about a little bit of fame. But then there's the other side where I feel like some reactions are like, yeah, we really care, and we work really hard on specialty coffee. We really love our farming. We're experimenting all the time, but we want to keep it low profile. We want to keep it. We don't need a lot of outsiders coming here. We want to do our work. We want to get it done with. You guys take care of the marketing. You guys take care of the branding. We just want to make sure that good coffee is out there and people enjoy it and people taste it. And we're going to continue working hard in doing this. So I feel like there's kind of mixed reactions and different spectrums of reactions, but those are the kind of two common ones that I get when I'm talking about specialty coffee.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing and for being part of Coffee On today. Thank you so much, Kat. Thank you, everybody who's also here with us to share this conversation with us today. Yeah, thank you so much. Let's end with a coffee. Cheers. Have a good Sunday, everybody.
Thanks for having me, Carmen. Thanks for having me, PPP. Bye, guys.